Welcome to an Aries and Pisces walk into a coffee shop, the podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Bridget, she, her.
And I'm Tiffany, she, her. This is a podcast where two friends let go of perfectionism and talk unedited.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Ingrid. I wish that Ingrid could talk.
Me too. Or maybe not, depending on the mood. Okay, you got things to do? Well, then go do them.
She's
Thank
got
you.
things to do. Are you familiar with David Pumpkins, the skit from Saturday Night Live?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, number one, I'll send it to you when we're done here.
Okay, thank you.
It's funny. It's a big fan favorite over here. Anyway, at one point he says, "How's it hanging?" And I was like, I thought that it's just a stupid, like ridiculous question, but I wanted to ask it to you. But I didn't want to just randomly come at you and be like, "How's it hanging?"
And I would know that you're doing a bit that I didn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you letting me in on the inside jokes, and I'm excited to really be in on it and know what you're doing.
So how's it hanging, Tiffany?
Looser. Yeah,
Ooh,
looser. I had
okay.
that breathwork session
Hmm.
um, with the person that you recommended, and I'm still figuring out what my body is doing. It feels really weird now. Um, so yeah, looser, but
All right.
also it's not quite like a brain fog, but it almost feels it's like a more comfortable brain fog,
A
but it's
more
like a body fog.
comfortable brain. Wow. Okay, that's something to sit
Oh,
with.
you know what it
What?
is? There was a guided meditation that I used to listen to a lot. I think it was Headspace, where it was talking about how the sky's always blue. And then things that roll across the sky, like the storm clouds or the big fluffy white clouds, like those are all ephemeral. Like they're going to just move through. So that would be like the thoughts and the feelings and the stuff that, life, that stuff's
Mhm.
rolling past. But like the big, expansive blue sky is always there, even if you can't see it or there's a storm
Mhm.
rolling in. And so I think that when I say brain fog, it's kind of like instead of feeling like I'm trapped in that cloudiness, I could like feel how it's just like kind of moving away or around, and it doesn't feel that bad.
That's beautiful.
So that's how I'm hanging. How are you
Yeah.
hanging?
Okay. Okay. How's it hanging over here? How's it hanging? I liked your response that it was like it's loosely hanging. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it's hanging. It's hanging. Oh my God! I almost just said it's hanging on by a thread. It's 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 more. No, it's I'm hanging on by more than just a thread. Um, I also got in my audio brain hanging by a moment here with you. Lifehouse. That's
I
how
was
it's
just
hanging.
about to bring that up because when you said that phrase, I was like, wait a minute. It like sunk back in, and I was like, I know a tune.
Yeah, take me back to being. I mean, what? 13? I don't know. Was that
That
is
sounds
that
about right.
appropriate?
I
Is
think
that
we were 12 or 13, maybe.
wow? Yeah, it's very tired over here.
Mm.
And I
Hmm.
don't know it. I don't know if it's like the changing of the seasons, the changing of the the sunlight in the morning, and it's been really like unusually hot here, like 80s, like
Yeah, same
high
here.
70s, low 80s, which doesn't make any sense for April.
Well, it
Um,
also was like a quick change. Like we had like
yes.
normal cold spring weather, and then it was just, and this week you're getting midsummer. Good
Yeah,
luck.
it doesn't it just doesn't make any sense. So we still have the flannel sheets on the bed, like, and it's just far too hot to like sleep in, and
Yeah.
it's so sleeping has been a bigger challenge. And I didn't think I didn't think too much of it because, as we've talked about before, sleeping is just like an ongoing challenge. So I was just like, okay, whatever, it's just more of the same. But it's been hitting me in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, why am I so tired? That's probably part of the reason.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was just listening to a podcast earlier, and now I can't remember who it was with, but it was the Magic and Alchemy podcast by Tamed Wild. And it's two people, and they were interviewing someone, and it was for like a spring episode, and they were asking her like what advice she might like want to part with for people. And immediately, with no beats, she was just like, rest. I know it's spring, and like we're coming out of winter, and people want to be done with that, but you need rest.
Mm,
Like it's a lot spring transition time. And I was just like, oh yeah, because I think that there's this idea of okay, like winter's done, so let's hit the ground running and do the thing. And I'm like, you don't just come out of hibernation and start like working at full capacity. That's insane. Why do we think we should do that? Like, okay, spring cleaning. Remember that garage you haven't been in 10 years? Clean it out. And I'm like, wait, what?
yeah. But that's like is it like that's the excitement vibe? The excitement of it, of like, the sun's back, it's getting warmer, like things are coming back to life. Like that for me is for sure is like fucking let's go, like blast off.
And I think what I'm trying to embody is this like slow ramble through the woods. Just meandering around. Remembering I have legs, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like some of that energy.
I think that's where
Um,
I'm at.
yeah, I think the Rest is Resistance book is helping me lean into rest more, and in leaning into rest more in ways that I haven't thought about rest, maybe
Oh,
particularly like daydreaming.
oh,
Um,
interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Did we talk about this?
No,
No? Okay.
that's why I'm so excited.
Okay.
This is brand new info. I can't wait to hear your
I,
thoughts. I mean, you know, I'm obsessed with this book, so I'm just really excited to now be delving into some of the things that are coming up for you in it.
okay. I talked about it in therapy, so I think that's probably like a lot of
Oh,
things a lot of things that I talk about in therapy I talk about with you, so sometimes I don't remember.
yeah, your body knows that you said it before, but
Yeah.
then your brain is like, but to
Wait a second.
whom?
Yeah. Okay. So, daydreaming, that I loved hearing about, like, Tricia talk about daydreaming and the ways that the things that she dreams of, and the different and how like this, like, rest being a like, there's no model for it in the world and the society that we live in. So this is primarily dream work. We're having to dream up
Mm,
a world in which this exists, and we're able to live this way. And I thought, like, wow, that's so fascinating. And I was also like, okay, well, I want to tap into daydreaming because I'm not really like a napper. I'm not
Right.
naps are like few and far between for me, but I'm totally down for like just chilling and like closing my eyes and daydreaming. That sounds like, all right, cool, we're there. I used to daydream all the time when I was little,
Me too.
like in class all the time, it just anywhere, everything. I was always off like in some world in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in adulthood, I think when I was like struggling really hard with my mental health, my like daydreams turned more into like um bothersome thoughts that turned
Oh,
more into like I, like day mares,
right. So it's
like
like the
nightmares, but
rumination
I was
started.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing out like really like negative horrific things in my brain. And
Yeah,
so I
I've
had
done
to
that.
like yeah, I was like, okay, now this isn't okay. Like we're not like this is not working. And
Mm-hmm.
so I like shut it all down. And
Oh,
with shutting that down, I think it shut down the like daydreaming, like imaginative, creative, playful kinds of like
of
thoughts.
course, because it wasn't safe to be there anymore. So you clamped
Yeah.
down on it, and so that door closed. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I didn't realize it
Mm-hmm.
until I started seeing that chronic pain psychologist, where he started teaching me about like the mind body connection, and we were doing different like visualizing and then eventually hypnosis. But at the start of it, I realized, oh my God, I can't like visualize anything. Like I literally just like couldn't like tap into it.
Interesting.
And so I had to do like a lot of work with him around that to kind of like bring it back online.
Mm-hmm.
And like I still remember the day that it came back, and I was like, oh my God, like I can picture it, I'm here. And that was lots of tears and everything. And um it's also so wild to me now, like so many years later. um and I'm like, yeah, I'm great at like visualizing things. Like I love
Wow.
doing like guided imageries and meditations and hypnosis and all of that. And but then listening to this book and thinking about it more of like a daydream kind of a way, in more
Mm.
of like a creative playful kind of a thing. And I've realized that I feel like that part is still kind of offline, because I'm good like with the like you give me a prompt and I'm like getting
Uh,
into something, or I'm like you different like manifestation
mm-hmm.
kinds of like techniques where you're picturing like what you want in your life and what you want to bring in and how you want to feel. And I'm like, wait a second, where's that part that was purely just like play and for
Right.
fun and for nothing, like
And
for
like
no purpose of
generative.
just yeah, just like just imagining and like seeing what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel um disconnected from that still. And like that's what I'm trying to kind of like weasel my way back into,
Right.
like cracking into that.
I love the synchronicities that we share. Because I'm not reading the book right now, but I have
Hmm.
read it. Well, I listened to it a couple of times, but that was like months ago. And I went back to Ohio to visit family. And sorry, this cat is being a naughty cat. Ingrid, I need you to not do that. All right, she's
Is
gonna
she
go
scratching
get
at the
her.
glass?
She's trying to crawl into a plant. You are being so bad today. Go make biscuits. Sorry about
But
that.
she's so pretty.
Oh, she woke up from her nap and just chose mischievousness. So when I was visiting family, I was talking to my oldest sister about neurodivergence and how she is pretty sure she's undiagnosed ADHD, and we were like laughing about how like all the comments from her teachers like tick all the boxes of like what the questions they ask about your child. And daydreaming was a big one. Like that was always one of the things that all the conferences, like they would reach out to my parents and be like, we know she's smart. She just daydreams. She's just not checked out most of the time in these classes. And it was so interesting to watch how our experience was different because she just wasn't masking. She just was being herself. And so she was like constantly getting that feedback. I never got that feedback. My parents are like, they never said that about you once. But I had that. I would miss whole sections of classes but I learned how to look like I was paying attention. So much so that I was like completely flying under the radar. And I internally would be freaking out because I'd realize all of a sudden that I didn't, like the class was ending and I don't really remember much of what happened because I was just like, oh, I was just everywhere else but here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been thinking this past week about how I have now tied that experience of like daydreaming and just really like allowing my mind to spin out with, oh no, you're bad, anxious, like you're doing something bad. And so when I start that process, I get really anxious preemptively now. And I'm like, oh, I have to learn how to untie that and like find ways to like allow myself that. And it was so wild to realize because I was like, no wonder I felt anxious in my body so much of the time for things that it's like tracing it down to like the root cause. And I was like, oh, no wonder.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And isn't that just such a human thing to daydream and all of society conditioning in different ways, like just the ways that it can turn on you? It's fascinating.
Yeah,
I hate it.
and that's
I'm glad we're
yeah,
aware now.
yes. I'm also glad we're aware. I also wish that like everybody would listen to this book.
Mm-hmm. I feel that
Um,
way too.
yeah. I think especially listening to it because I'm listening to it, but just hearing her say these things out loud.
It's very healing to hear her voice and the tone and the way that she delivers the message.
Yeah, I'm just crying through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
when I got it, I got the I was on a pretty long wait on the library like list for holds and I finally got it and I saw how many like hours the audio is and I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to take me like the full time to listen to." And then I started
It's
listening to
deceptive.
it. Then I started listening to it and then I started like bawling my eyes out and I was like, "Oh, wait, I can only listen a very little bit at a time." So I do think this is going to take me uh the entire allotted checkout time
Mm-hmm.
to listen to it. But I think that it's a lot. It's a lot to like get into,
Mm-hmm.
but I am grateful for it coming to me in this way because I like rest has always been so elusive to me.
Right.
And I was also trying to get into rest under the guise of, well, if I'm rested, if I'm well rested, then I'm able to be more productive. Like,
Right.
right, that I'm able to then like do the things. But she's talking about like, no, that is
Mm-hmm.
still just another facet of the white supremacist, patriarchal, capitalist urgency, grind culture.
Yep.
That's just another part of it. Like, we should just be well rested because we are,
Yep.
and we should just be well rested, like, so that we're just able to be us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, motherfucker.
Yeah, that part of the book, like I still vividly remember where I was, what I was doing, what the air felt like, like
Mm.
every aspect of that memory. Because when she said that, I was like, Oh no. I like the calls coming from inside the house problem where I was just like, I am doing that. And it
Mm-hmm.
just struck me so intensely. And the way that she said it was so stern but loving and just matter of fact. It was just like auntie energy. I just felt so cared for and just set right. It
Yeah.
was really intense. And I think about it all the time now because it's a reflex. I do it even now where I'm like, I I love naps. I'm not like you. I really enjoy them. However, I feel like I don't allow myself them often because there's things to do and the way that my workday is scheduled, like I have to kind of be it just doesn't feel like it fits into the rhythm of my day to day. And sometimes I'll be so desperate for a nap, I'll do the thing where I'm like, well, if you nap, then. And it's
Mm-hmm.
always a, we'll just make room for it because then you'll show up more refreshed or you'll be more available. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing it again.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Also I think with like hearing her say these things, it's like I never felt bad about it, about being like, "Oh my God, I'm doing this." And like I never was like giving myself a hard time about it. It was like, "Of course I'm doing this." Like, of
Mm,
course, I've been conditioned my whole life to do this. Of course I'm doing it and everyone else is. And now I know better. Now I know, like now I can see. Now my eyes are open and I just like don't have to I don't have to beat myself up about it. Whereas before I think I would beat myself up about like rest and things. And I also like really thought rest looked a very specific way,
mm,
especially like with like naps. But now I've been like giving myself permission to just lay on the couch and just lay there. And I'm like, here I am resting. I'm feeling tired. I'm just gonna lay here and I'm gonna rest. And I don't have to nap. I don't have to try to fall asleep. I think before I would be like, oh, I'm tired. I should take a nap. But I always felt more anxious when I
mm-hmm.
would do that. And like, especially when I wake up from a nap and I just always felt worse afterwards. But
Oh,
if I just allow myself to like just like lay there for a bit and be like, I'm just resting because I'm tired,
uh-huh.
and then when I get up, I'm like, look at me, I just rested. Like, good job.
Yeah, it makes me think of Trisha's story about, I think it's her grandmother, someone, one of her relatives, just sitting upright with eyes closed and just being like, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
resting my eyes.
Yeah,
Like,
her grandma. Yeah.
yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
I took that into I get weekly allergy shots and I have to sit there for 20 minutes after like the shot in the
Mm,
office. And usually I take that time to like get caught up on like Instagram messages or something like that on my phone. And the other day I looked around the waiting room. Every single person in the waiting room was just like head down on their phone. And I was like, I'm going to rest like Trisha's grandma in the waiting room at the doctor. And I put my headphones in and I put on the 1975's new album because I fucking love them so much. And I just like leaned my head back on the wall and I just like listened to the music with my eyes closed for the whole time. And I was
mm,
like, this is it. Like, this is life. This is living. Like, I just like, I think I also felt like wildly proud of myself in that
yeah.
moment of like, I'm really like taking like conscious intention to
Hmm.
take care of myself. And that's not something I would have like even thought of or like about or like b thought to like celebrate.
That's good cycle breaking.
Mm. And it felt like it did also really appeal to my inner like rebellious archetype.
Ooh, yeah, tell me.
Well, I think just because like I'm sitting in a doctor's office
Uh-huh.
where like everybody else is just staring at their phones, like completely engulfed in whatever that is. There's like a TV on. That's why I put my headphones on because I don't want
Right.
to hear the TV. Um, and I was like, in this environment, in public, I'm going to sit in this chair and rest.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
The
to
in
me was
public piece
like,
is radical to me.
yeah, that's what I was like, I'm gonna, because well, I had to kind of like check myself of thinking, like, okay, what are these people gonna think of me if I'm sitting here in the waiting room with my eyes closed and my head up against the wall? And like all of that internal narrative of like, how are these people going to perceive me?
Mm-hmm.
And to be like, I can let go of that, or I can practice letting go of that,
Right.
right? Like, because it's still gonna come up.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, it felt, I guess that's the bit of like the resistance part, right? Like
Yes.
here in this environment where like this is not an expected thing, like I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna take this moment that I have, and instead of trying to be productive and getting caught up on like messaging and things like that, like I'm gonna listen to songs that I like, and I'm gonna close my eyes, and I'm just gonna be here.
Oh, what good rest. I've been doing a similar thing. Rest has to look a certain way to the point of there have been times where, well, I call it getting stuck. I don't know what, I don't know exactly what causes it, but there's a point where I want to get up to do something. And sometimes it's literally like, I want to get up to start doing my ritual to get to bed, but I get stuck on the couch where it's just like, I keep on telling myself, okay, like we're going to stand up and start
Mhm.
doing the thing. And I just can't do it.
Mhm.
And so there have been times where I'm so tired and I'll just like lay down. And especially Ingrid, if she comes over and lays next to or on top of me, I'm like, I would like get this like clench in my chest of like, oh, not only was I stuck, but now I'm like really stuck because like this feels really nice, but I have stuff to do. And like, I'm not sure when I finally had it pop in my head like a light bulb where I'm just like, this feels really good. Why do you feel bad? Like, you're tired, you're laying down, you have a cat on top of you. This is the best thing. Why don't you just sink in and enjoy it? So there have been like multiple times where I've been meaning to go to bed and I didn't quite get there. And then Ingrid comes over and lays down and like gives me permission to not move. And I'm like, oh, I'll just close my eyes. And then sometimes I end up falling asleep and I'll like nap on the couch for like an hour, hour and a half. And then I get up and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get to the bed now, I guess. And I don't know why I was so like I had to do bed the right way. I couldn't
Oh,
just enjoy what I was feeling in the moment on the couch. I was comfortable. I was relaxed. I had a cat. Like, what more could I have possibly wanted for the rest?
mhm.
And I've been
Isn't that,
thinking about it a
oh
lot.
God, doing things the right way, in quotes, right way. Isn't that oh, that can get ya.
Yeah, as if the sleep wouldn't count because I didn't do all the
Right,
things to get into bed first.
right, right. But instead, you were laying on the couch with your lovely cat having a very nice moment, and
Uh-huh.
you had a full hour of beautiful rest.
Yeah.
And like, why do we do this to ourselves? I know the answers, but
Yeah.
it's still,
It's just surprising every time it comes up because you're like, oh, wow.
yeah.
That thing again. So interesting.
Yeah, that's like really leaning into the like doing what works for you. Like, no
Yes.
matter what it looks like for other people,
Mm-hmm.
just allowing yourself that like permission to be like, this is how it's working for me, or like trying something new to see if that, yeah, that's still, I know we talk about this, but about my like experimenting with things. And like, that's still like a hang up with me because I still look at other people, how other people are doing things. And I'm like, well, they're this far along in life. They must know what they're doing. That must be the right way to do things. And I'm still like judging myself on it.
Mm-hmm.
It still hits. It hits.
Yeah, that comparison thing will get you real good because it's easy to blur the edges, filter what you're seeing from the outside looking in because you don't know. It probably might not be working for them. It just appears on the outside that it is. Or,
Mm-hmm.
like you are so fond of saying, is that some things just don't work for people. What,
Mm-hmm.
like, you might find the most perfect system for you, and that's just not going to be it for the other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what if going to bed the right way for you was literally just like when you felt tired, lay down, and when your cat snugs in, like lean into it and be like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm tired, I'm gonna sleep now. And that's just how you slept. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know how other people are like, why are we holding on to this like all powerful image of the right way to do things?
Yeah, sleep doesn't count if it's not in a bed.
Jesus.
Which is insane to say out loud, but that's what my brain was doing. It was so strange to me when it like light bulbed where I was just like, because sometimes what happens is that I'll get so anxious about doing the bedtime and falling asleep that that would keep me up. And it just was so silly. It felt silly that it had never occurred to me that because I was feeling really good in that moment and actually drowsy, that I should just lean into it and close my eyes and allow that to happen instead of ramping up all my anxiety of like, okay, I have all these steps before I get
Mm-hmm.
into the bed where I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be anxious and then not be able to fall asleep. And instead, I was just like, oh, I'm drowsy. And if I could just let it, like, stop holding on and just let that go. I mean, a solid hour of just deep sleep. What a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no anxiety needed to happen for that.
Yeah.
How lovely for me.
I love that for you. I have also been leaning into like the rest moments with my cats of like, I believe that we have talked about this before, but of like when Chloe wants to snug in,
Mm,
like that's a very rare occurrence. So when she hops up and she's doing her little biscuits, like that's her moment of like loving affection. And like if she wants to do that, then I'm like, oh, I want to like lean into this. So instead
hmm.
of sitting here like looking at my phone and scrolling and watching things, maybe I'll put it down and I'll just like be with her in this moment.
Yeah.
And like the same things with like Zero when he wants pets, because you can pet him for like 10 minutes straight. Like he's just like, give me all the love
Yes.
you can. And so I'm like, what if I what if I just pet him until he doesn't want pet anymore? Like what if I give him all of that attention that he wants and just see what happens? And that like going into it and like holding that intention like while I'm doing it makes it feel like more special
Yeah.
and a restful moment like for me and a moment of like connection.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the connection and just the grounding of that and being very present. It's meditation. You're doing
Mm.
meditation and co
Wow.
regulation with someone else.
That's I never thought of it that way.
I've been thinking about that a lot, the co regulating with a pet, because I didn't have a cat for a period of time and I was a wreck, even though I had other animals in the house, but they weren't animals I could co regulate with all the time. They weren't, well, one of them was a ferret that just, she had behavioral issues, bless her. She was very neurodivergent. There was no co regulating with her. She had nervous system problems. And then my friend's dog, who's great, but like that's not my dog. And so like we
Mhm.
had our pockets, we had our moments. It was great. But I thought about it a lot, especially like when I what almost is it almost 2 years now that I lived alone. I mean with my cat. But I had this thought of like because I've been like unpacking loneliness and thinking a lot about that. And then that co-regulation piece, I was just like, oh, I don't know how people do this without a cat. Like people that
Mm.
just live alone with no plans and no cats. Like how do they
I'll tell you what,
exist?
I did it. I did it at one point,
With no
and
plans even?
I didn't do very great. You know what? I think I had a few plants, but
Okay.
I didn't have a relationship with plants like I do now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it was starting, I
Hmm.
think. But yeah, I was very lonely.
Yeah, and I just think about how it's good practice to slow down and pay attention because cats just literally do whatever they need or want.
Mhm.
Like they need a stretch, they just get up and do it. Like they want to sleep, they lay down and do that. Like a moment of frisk happens, they don't tell themselves, "Oh, now's not the time." It's just go.
Yeah.
It's just like this radical taking care of yourself and whatever you need to like move through, you move through in the moment.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been trying to learn a little bit about that from Ingrid. And this idea of not feeling guilt about it. Like the weather shifted and it's so beautiful. And I opened the balcony door and Ingrid walked right out, no hesitation, and just plopped down in the sun and started rolling around. And I was like, oh, you're right. This is nice. So I just sat down. Just, I had a goal in mind. I thought I was going to like do something. And I just like was looking at her and I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing. And I just sat down next to her and like pet her. And like we just sat in the sun. She rolled around just like full enjoyment. And I was like, mm-hmm.
Mm.
I needed the reminder. Thank you. I don't need to be so goal oriented. I could just sit outside and enjoy the sun, feel the breeze, and that's that.
Mhm. I think I love that so much. That's also something I have been really leaning into of like the cats as like excellent teachers.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're so good. Yeah, they're
I
so
have deep
great.
wisdom.
Also, yeah, great with boundaries too.
Right. Mm-hmm. I
Like
was thinking about Chloe.
if they don't want to, yeah, she is like, oh, she on it. She doesn't want you to touch her. She'll fucking bite you. Like, and
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, hands off. Like
Mm-hmm.
I also like I know her like other tells like before that, so I'll
The
stop
subtle ones.
yeah, like I stop before that point and like I'll let her like I never pet her unless she is like, okay, I would like a pet. Like I'll present my hand to her, but I
Right.
won't pet her unless she rubs up against me. And then I'll stop and I'll check in. I'll be like, okay, you know, like I'll just do a very little bit, and then I'll let her come to it. Be like, you tell me what you want, like, and and that's so that's just it's so beautiful. But yeah, like they sleep whenever, wherever they want. And they're great at stretching. So I also like I lean into that for myself of like remember every time they get up from wherever they're laying down, they stretch their bodies. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's a fantastic reminder to just stretch throughout the day.
Yes, it is. Yeah, working from home has been really helpful because it's to the point now where like Ingrid reminds me to drink water. I'll like get
Mm,
in the zone and like lose track of time, and then I'll hear her little bell and hear her little laps, and I'm like, oh right, I exist in a body. I need to hydrate. And I take my break. I stand up, I do my stretch, I get my water, I, watch her be cute, and I drink my water, and I'm like, that would have been like a glass of water I probably wouldn't have occurred to me to have that day. But she's a good reminder of those things.
Mm-hmm.
She's
And to
just
take
having
a
a full on
bath.
bath behind me.
Mm-hmm. Wise cats. I honestly don't know how I lived before them.
Yeah, you were decidedly unsure about cats.
I was anti-cats. I hated cats. I'll
That's
say
so
it.
weird
I
to me.
hated I hated them. I hated them until I met your cat, Babs. And then I
She's
fell in love
special.
with her. And and then yeah, and then I was like, "Oh, I think I need a cat." I think I need a cat. And then that's when tiny little Chloe showed up in
The
2014.
tiniest.
Yeah, so I lived my whole life until 2014 with no pets.
Yeah, that is wild to me. I don't know how you did that. Because, like, my family adopted our first cat when I was like 1.5 or 2. And then we always had cats forever after, sometimes multiple. So there was a lot of overlap. And yeah, that I think it was about a year that I didn't have my own cat after Babs pass. And I don't ever want to do that again. That was not a good time. Because that co regulation piece and just companionship. And I think what you're talking about too, the idea of, well, just connection, because like the way that you interact with Chloe is so different than how you interact with Zero, but they're both really
Completely.
fulfilling.
Yeah, yeah. And I had to let go of a lot with
Oh,
Chloe
interesting.
because like I think that like in my mind I wanted for Chloe to be like Zero. Like
Oh,
I wanted to pick her up. I wanted to like pet her. I wanted to snug with her. I wanted all of that, and um she doesn't want that, and I had to like learn how to do things on her terms and to let go of what I wanted, or
mm,
what I thought that the relationship should look like, um because I was like, well, okay, I would rather that she is happy and healthy and living a life that she enjoys. So like, what does that look like if I do things like according to how she wants them?
mm-hmm,
And I think then like when I started to do that, then like our relationship got better, cuz like when she was really little, it was really rough. Um like and and now it's so much it's so much like better and more loving, and um yeah, I just had to like let that go. I had to be like, okay, you just like you don't pick up Chloe. Like
yeah.
I want to so badly,
Aw,
like I want to pet her whole body. Like I want to do those things, but I respect her and I respect like what she likes, and I say like I love you and I'm going to love you in the way that you want to be loved.
mm,
And um and yeah, so that I think has just helped to like strengthen our bond.
yeah.
And I also have Lovey, so I just get to like pick him up, and like I could just scoop him up anytime. I'm like, "Excuse me, do you want a scoop? Like, do you want up?" And I pick him up and I carry him around, and he loves it. He loves it so much he drools all over me. Like it's great. He's just purring the whole
Oh,
time. It's disgusting and so loving.
mm,
And like so I know that like if I want to pick up a cat, I can go pick him up.
right.
And like so it's that's that's helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, even you relating to Chloe like that has changed her person. Well, not changed her personality, but changed her reactions in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Mm-hmm.
remember years and years back, she wouldn't give a warning tell that she
Mm.
was over it. It would just like be so, it would be like,
Like come out of nowhere.
yeah, she would like be headbutting your hand, and then the next pet, she would be trying to maul you because
Yeah.
it was just like such a like the nervous
Switch.
system flip
Yeah.
switch where it was just like it's too much, and then she would like go to a 10, and now she gives tells. She's not like that. She'll walk away first. Like she
Yeah.
does a lot of different things that even just visiting her this last time I noticed, because like I don't see her that often, and I haven't seen her in so forever, and it was
Mm.
just like I did have that thought where I was just like, I remember when
She
this was
will
like,
bite you. She
uh,
will scratch you. She will latch on and you will fear for all of the skin on your arm. But like yeah, I think that I guess that is thanks for saying that. That is like a testament to like the I think just maybe like feeling I'm going to say this feeling a bit at ease in her environment because her and Zero do not get along. So that is
yeah,
definitely a source of conflict and not ease in her environment. But I guess like if I can provide, this side of it, then that, I guess that would help then because she doesn't have to like feel like she has to be on edge about like that like human interaction because
right.
she, like, yeah.
Yeah, she has the self-confidence to boundary set in quieter ways instead
Mm.
of having to go to like a 15 all the time.
Right. She could just go to like a 10 instead of a 15.
Progress is progress.
or if it's a confrontation with Zero, it's like a straight 20 where like
Yeah, I mean, she does have her no-go zones, and I think Zero is definitely one of them. But with the humans, I could see a big difference from when she was
yeah.
younger to now. And I think it is a testament that the way that you've interacted with her has given her like the ease and confidence to not have to do that, which talk about wise teachers in connection. Like
Wow.
that's also beautiful.
Wow. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to go sit with this. Like, I'm gonna go cry a little bit, I think.
Good, you deserve that.
Thank you.
Sounds like a really nice release.
Thank you. I just love her so much. She's my tiny little soulmate, and I just never could have dreamed it up.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that for you.
thank you. Me too.